I've been told I have a laundry list of hobbies. Well, my girlfriend says I have too many. I don't think that's necessarily true. I equate hobbies to skills, and I think that we ultimately should be working on progressing in every aspect of our life, but I think progressively all of us should be getting better at something. So I think hobbies are a great way to do that. You can look forward to progressing in one discipline. For me, I like to be multidisciplined, and so that's why I kind of want to backdoor everyone into it. I want to show people kind of the beauty of having hobbies and like what it means to get good at something. I think today's society, we get to see the end result always, and we don't get to see the progress everyone goes through to actually achieve something. And I think that process is more exciting often than the end result. Sometimes you get the thing that you've been wanting ultimately to realize that it's not fulfilling. So like, for example, I know friends that are great athletes. They're some of the best athletes in the world. They actually don't like playing the sport anymore. It completely ruined it for them being so good at it. They had to dissect themselves from the game and like get interested in other things. Even though they're good at the sport, it didn't mean that they necessarily enjoyed it anymore. Their skill and pleasure was completely separated. Bringing back the point of having hobbies, I think, is a great way to find disciplines and find things you're interested in and actually get better at something. So for me, that thing that I'm going to bring you in on today is writing. Writing, I think, if you talk to most people, I think we've all been exposed in more ways than one to forceful writing. That being, you're graded, you've got to do scientific papers, you've got a structure, you've got rigidity, you've got to follow a certain flow, and that's not what writing is. Writing is just an expression of thought. And so I, in the past year, have found so much love for this hobby because it is something that you can kind of, if you're like me, I overthink just about everything there is to overthink about. And it's a great way to kind of take all those thoughts and then flood them onto the paper, and then you're able to kind of dissect each one, and you're like, can look at yourself from a macro lens, and you can say, okay, this is what's going on in my life. What are some things that I can dissect and then eventually work on? And how can I get out of this state? So if you're feeling, anxiety, it's like, okay, what realistically is causing that anxiety? Write it down, look at it, and then you can go and move on from it. I don't have much anxiety. I'm honestly a pretty happy-going person. So I like to write about I work in a couple social settings. I have for a long time. I've got multiple jobs. I've got friends that are entrepreneurs. My parents are entrepreneurs. So I write a blog every week about business, about psychology in a way, about just general feelings, self-help. And for me, that is such a good escape every week. And it's something that I can look forward to and a skill that I can practice indefinitely. The point of writing that I find the most enjoyable is being able to write about something that you actually care about. And that's what makes writing so fun. If you can write and find a subject that you're passionate about, and you can sit there for 20, 30 minutes and just jot your thoughts down, you can eventually get into a state of flow, which then you realize 2-3 hours have passed, and you're like, oh my gosh, I've got like 2-3 pages worth of writing. It's like in a way it's therapy. It's a way for you to take and channel this energy into another expression. And if you can express yourself on the paper, then you can translate that into business, into other aspects of your life. So for me, writing is one of those things that I force myself to sit on a new topic every week. I'll pick a random one. So this week it'll be motivation. Last week it was inspiration. I'll sit on the topic all week and I'll think about ways that I feel motivated or unmotivated and ways that I can get out of it. Because I know I deal with these problems, and I know that other people in business, I know other people go through mental health issues. And if you can relate to what I've written, then I've accomplished what I've come here to do. Because for me, I get to see all these different types of people, and so a lot of people have similar problems. And I think that it's more common now just because we've got instant gratification and we don't get to see, the process of going through hardship. And so when you see the end product and you've got this, this gap in between the start and the finish, it's great to be able to relate to people that are kind of steps along the journey. And so for me, I've been able to experience a lot. I'm only in my mid-20s, but I've been fortunate enough to travel. I've been fortunate enough to work in places that are very social, so I get to kind of see how people interact with the world. And I kind of gauge that and take it on personally to figure out in ways that I've overcome certain hardship. For example, motivation. Like this week, I was a lazy bum. I didn't want to do anything. All I wanted to do is just sit around. I was on my feet. I worked 60 hours last week, and the week before that, and the week before that. There's no excuse. Like, I love working 60 hours a week. I think I'm working towards bettering myself and getting out of my situation. But the weekend came around and I was like, shot. I didn't want to do anything. Usually I'm like trying to figure out projects, like, okay, how do I keep the ball rolling? Because I want to be at that place. I'm only, I'm mountains away. I haven't even gotten to my first mountain yet. I'm mountains away. And so every day that I take on that feels like one less day I have to work on what I want to be in. Like, I think life, passion, and work should all be under the same umbrella. And so every day that I take away from that, it is so disheartening. So how can I channel that and write about that in a way that people can kind of relate to and like tips out of it? And I think if anyone can gain anything from it, then that's like my life's mission. That's what it's all about. It's like, it's fun being able to relate to people in that sense. And if that's through the form of writing, then that's awesome. If it's through the form of videography or whatever you choose to do with your life, then that's great. But as long as like we keep creating, we'll keep progressing as society. And I think that's where we're kind of lacking today. It's like you've got such a disassociation between social groups because people want to put everything out there and they put all of themselves out there, but then they're shallow with their intention. So like, if you've got, if you're unhappy but like project happiness to the world, then who are you really? Which one are you? And so writing, like, you have to be so brutally honest. And I think what people used to equate to writing was, school writing and like having a grade and having an association to it in a way that, it's tied to an expectation, and people are, there's something on the line. And if you don't do it right, saying there is a right or wrong. If you don't do it right, you're gonna get a shitty grade, or you're not gonna pass your class, and then you get unmotivated to write about anything. And writing should just be an expression of thought. So if you're dealing with something, if you like, no one has to read your journal. If you're like trying to start writing and you're like, I still have this fear of being associated to this grade or this expectation, no one has to open your book except for you. You don't even have to share it with your loved ones. Like, you don't have to tell anyone about it. You could have this sacred space and you could write. And that's the beauty of like picking up these hobbies, is that it teaches you more than anything new lessons, skills, things that you can equate to every part of your life. And that for me is the beauty of having multiple hobbies. Yeah, I just wanted to finish by saying that I think writing is such a fundamental part of life, and I think that we use it every single day, and that it's such a you can translate that skill into so many aspects of professional life, personal life, and who knows down the line what you could do with it. You could write books, you could write poetry, you could write songs, you could write copyright for scripts, you could do so much with it. And so if anything, I think most people should tap into that creative side of themselves and like try something new. And this might be one of those things that I think everyone should pick up. If you are interested, I've got a Substack. I'll link that below. And then if you are interested in reading my blog or want to subscribe, that would be amazing. If you like to write and if you're great at it, and if you want to criticize my stuff, let's start a discussion. You can email me back or send me leave me a message, and I would love to get some criticism. I'd also love to know how to better myself from it. So that's the main intention with my blog, is to just ultimately get better at writing, and just seeing how far I can push myself. And I would like to see other people do the same. So if you've got a Substack or you've got somewhere I can read and just absorb information, then yeah, share it with me. I'd love to read everyone's. And thank you so much for watching. If you made it this far, thank you so much. And I really appreciate you listening to my babbling. So with love, catch you in the next one. Okay.